Yes, the Cyberpunk 2077 controversies continue. Adam Bowalski, head of studio for CD Projekt RED, has responded to Jason Schreier's recent article, which was titled Inside Cyberpunk 2077's Disastrous Rollout. Now, this article was an investigation. He basically interviewed roughly 20 people from CD Projekt RED that formerly worked there or are currently working there as well. And they basically said, hey, the game wasn't ready. It's supposed to release in 2022. That the E3 2018 demo that we saw in, of course, 2018 was faked, that it was not real, that it was just used for marketing purposes, that it actually drew months and months away from the development of the game. He spoke about crunch time and things like that. And we got a response right here from Adam Bowalski that we're going to be going over. Plus, we're going to be seeing the community's reactions. We're going to be seeing how people are replying to Adam and also Jason Schreier as well. So a lot to dive into right now. So welcome back, everyone. Overworld Games here. Hope you're doing good, and let's do this. Remember, I'm going to go over your top comments later in the video. So yeah, post a comment down below. But let's dive into this from Adam Bowalski right here, head of studio at CD Projekt RED. He says, I've read your piece and your tweets. Thank you for the read. I have some thoughts. He is responding to Jason Schreier right here. Let's dive into this. He says, fans and journalists were wowed by Cyberpunk 2077's ambition and scale. What they didn't know was that the demo was almost entirely faked. This is a quote from the article. Now, Adam Bowalski says, it's hard for a trade show game demo not to be a test of vision or vertical slice 2 years before the game ships. But that doesn't mean it's fake. Compare the demo with the game. Look at the dum-dum scenario or the car chase or the many other things. What the people reading your article may not know is that games are not made in a linear fashion and start looking like the final product only a few months before launch. If you look at that demo now, it's different, yes, but that's what the work in progress watermark, is for. Our final game looks and plays way better than what that demo ever was. As for missing features, that's part of the creation process. Features come and go as we see if they work or not. Also, car ambushes exist in the final game almost verbatim to what we showed in the demo. I wanted to talk about that real quick, the missing features thing. So if you're developing a game, make sure you're extremely careful promising features before showing the game, or you're using those features as marketing material to basically falsify your game and try to get people to purchase it. So that's, in my opinion, super critical to know. You know, one game and one studio, I should mention, that's very, very careful about how they advertise their games is Respawn Entertainment. Look at them. Like, when they showed off Jedi Fallen Order, they're very cautious. They didn't want to spoil anything with that game, of course. And then Apex Legends, they just released that game, you know, the day they announced it. They didn't falsify anything. So I honestly think these companies need to be more careful when they are marketing their game. Now, it goes on to say this, and if we get a bit more granular about our release, the vision we presented in this demo evolved into something that got multiple 9s out of 10s and 10s out of 10s on PC for many renowned gaming outlets in the world. As for the old gen consoles, yes, that is another case, but we've owned up to that and are working super hard to eliminate bugs on PC too. We know that's not a perfect version either, and we are proud of Cyberpunk 2077 as a game and artistic vision. This all is not what I'd call disastrous. And you know, the PC version of the game, which I have played, is a pretty good experience. It does have those really annoying glitches for sure. I'm sorry, they have been so pestering for me personally, especially when they actually interfere with the actual story, which happens to me practically every single time I play the game. But again, we're getting that big patch here in the next few days, supposedly. So let's talk more about this right here. It says, most of the staff knew and openly said it wouldn't be ready for release in 2020. You've talked with 20 people, some being ex-employees, only one of whom is not anonymous. I wouldn't call that most of the over 500 people staff openly said what you claim. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think about that. The few basically speaking for the majority. Do you guys agree that should be even included in this interview or this investigation that Jason Schreier did? Sound off in the comments below, because yeah, I think perhaps Jason needs to get more opinions, but clearly something went wrong in the development process of Cyberpunk 2077. All right, let's keep going. It says a few non-Polish staffers shared stories about coworkers using Polish in front of them, which violated company rules, made them feel ostracized. They said, were their coworkers talking crap about them? Oh my God. So real quick comment about that before we get into the reply. I've actually had this happen to me when I'm overseas at certain studios, when they start talking a different language in front of you, and it could definitely be like, what are they saying? Are they talking about me? What's going on? So it's definitely interesting to hear about this one. It says everyone here speaks English during meetings. Every company-wide email and announcement is in English. All that is mandatory. Rule of thumb is to switch to English when there's a person not speaking a given language in a casual conversation. It is, however, pretty normal for German speaking German, Poles speaking Polish, Spaniards speaking Spanish, etc. There are 44 nationalities at this studio. You get the point. When there's no one else around, we are working in a multicultural environment. If the question is if it's hard to move to another country, sometimes culture and work and live there, then the answer is yes. But that's universal to every company all over the world, and we're doing what we can to ease that transition. You know, I think people are just people, and my opinion is, like, I do think the rule of speaking one language with everyone would make everyone more comfortable, to make sure that no one is making fun of one person or backstabbing or something, and to stay on the same level of communication. But that's a whole other thing, and that's definitely an interesting discussion for sure. But yeah, let's keep going here. We're going to take a look at Jason Schrierer, who immediately replies to what Adam Bowalski has said right here. And he, of course, Adam Bowalski, he didn't reply to all the concerns that were, you know, that Jason Schrierer mentioned, in his Bloomberg article, in his investigation. So he basically cherry-picked the details that he wanted to respond to. Now, Jason Schrierer responds to Adam saying, Adam, I appreciate the responses. As I'm sure you're aware, the team declined to respond to my specific questions or provide an interview before my article went live. But if you'd like to give your perspective on the topics you didn't cover here, I'd be happy to chat anytime. So yeah, he had an opportunity to do an interview with Jason Schrierer and respond to a bunch of questions. There was a question in there Jason did mention on his Twitter about a No Man's Sky revival, and it would have been nice to get a response about that for sure. But let's see what the community is saying, how they are reacting to first Adam Bowalski, then we'll go to the reactions to Jason Schrierer. It's very interesting stuff. So let's dive in. Here is Adam Bowalski's post here, of course. We're going to scroll down and see what was said. Of course, Jason did respond. We got a response to both Jason and Adam here from Jack Love, who says, so CD Projekt RED declined to comment, only for them to later comment and picking out a few questions they want to answer. Yikes. Trap Boy MXM says, I watched a video of a guy who put 200 plus hours into Cyberpunk 2077 revisiting the gameplay demo. To keep it short, he was losing his mind watching this false advertisement piece of trash. Wow. Yusuf says, regardless of work in progress watermark on Cyberpunk demo at 2018, how the hell are we supposed to expect the game if not from the demo that we saw? The core element RPG from the demo is far more better than the final product. We set our expectation based on the demo. Yeah, and fascinatingly, we have an entire Reddit thread right here, as you can see. It's a long-winded one. It's a list of every single detail from the 2018 gameplay demo that was changed or cut from the final game. This comes from Mr. Stunt Action. I'll be going over a little bit about that as well, but let's keep diving into some of the responses. Yeah, the demo was definitely different from the final game, no doubt, for sure. Lucas WandaVision says, sometimes the best response is no response. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think CD Projekt RED should keep their mouth shut, or do you think they should keep replying and fighting back? Adam, I have compared the demo footage to what I have actually played, and while playing to similar outcomes in manner, it was like watching a remake of a movie versus the original. Every little detail was off. Very obvious the demo was not lifted from the existing game. Yeah, they were basically creating something that would sell the game. You know, that's just my opinion. Phil says, Cyberpunk is awful as an artistic vision. You took the lore of an existing universe and stuck it with taped together gameplay from many other existing game franchises that do things better. The entire game feels lifted from other greater works. Bugs aside, your game sucks. Yikes. Kyle Spencer replies saying, yikes, imagine thinking derivative works are absent of creative visions. Imagine being that clueless. I guess Harry Potter has no creative vision. Lord of the Rings, Forrest Gump, The Shining, Jurassic Park. Wow. Mab says, can we all just collectively agree to ignore Jason Schrierer going forward? He seems to be much more interested in making a name for himself than reporting objectively. A sad fall from his prior quality coverage, but he seems to have let being the crunch police go to his head. Do you guys agree that some of these journalists are taking it way too far? Please sound off in the comments below. Let me know your opinion on this one. Do you think they should just back off and let CD Projekt RED do their work, try to fix this game, and then move on to the free DLC and expansion, as they did explain in their, apology video, and also it was kind of like a roadmap video, I suppose, with no true dates on it. But yeah, do you think they should just leave them alone? Part of me thinks that I really do want CD Projekt RED not to be too distracted. I want them to get to work, but at the same time, it seems like people at CD Projekt RED might also be very frustrated and worn out by what has happened. So it's definitely a complicated situation for sure. We have a response here from LeetRR, who says, what do they mean with fake? It was clearly playable and played by a person. The final game looked just like that and better. Doesn't make any sense. Spider says, this is what I keep saying, but it seems like people are set on being negative and press it being predatory as possible since negativity gets hits. Anyone who actually played the final game would have seen those scenes as they were mostly from the main plot in the first 10 hours. It seems like people are mostly caught up on big changes like the lack of third-person cinematics, things that were shown and promised. And we go to that big list here presented by Mr. Stunt Action, and it's very, very interesting. He breaks down that E3 2018 demo, as we can see right here, and he breaks it down bit by bit, from the action scenes to, interacting with characters, to actually exploring the world and, how the world actually feels. So let's dive into some of this right now, starting with this. It's not counting some trivial details like T-Bug hacking open the door to this scab apartment while you do it yourself with the scanner in the final game, or the interior to Dex's limo changing. All right, so let's begin. It says at the beginning, it says V's default appearance. Both these V's aren't able to be recreated in the final game. Many people throughout the years asked specifically for the female V, but she's unable to be recreated. There's mods for that now, of course. People really, really want that iconic character look from the trailers. And then at 42 seconds in the trailer, it mentions a deep customization system, a glimpse or what will be possible in the released game. And then the response was, yeah, no. Yeah, it's very surprising that you can't go to change your hair, that you can't change your character, go to some sort of, I don't know, surgeon that can change the look of your character. That's just, to me, unbelievable. Now it goes on to say, remnants of this are still present in the final game, with V being treated as a street kid merc regardless of life path. Now the narrator says this, what you choose here will unlock different possibilities later in the game, which ends up being more false than anything else with the life paths. Yeah, the life paths were super let down. I'm going to just say it. Like, I had this feeling when I got past the tutorial, like, yikes, I hope that's not it for this life path, because it feels like that's the case. Now, 1 minute and 10 seconds into the E3 presentation, it says, far more expanded character creator, excuse me. And then at 1 minute and 21 seconds, it says strength and constitution, and those stats ended up merged into a single body stat. That's just a change that's going to happen during development process. Again, they were trying to show that this was an RPG, I think. At 1 minute and 35 seconds, they mentioned the demo takes place near the beginning of the game. And then it says from the Reddit original poster, it says, in the final product, these events take place right after the life path as the first proper mission of the game, given life paths didn't exist back then, and they hadn't actually built the game start. It's safe to say at this point, not even themselves knew when exactly they'd fit this quest into the narrative, just that it would be relatively at the beginning. They were trying to guesstimate. Again, like a lot of this, God, I'm having flashbacks once again to what happened with BioWare's Anthem, of course. It just reminds me so much of it because they changed that game mid-development once again. Like, it's pretty crazy how much they can change a game from being like about walking around the environment, and then in the case of Anthem, they're like, you know what, we want them flying. Can you imagine like being the lead level designer and being told this, and then you have to expand the entire open world to accommodate for flying? It reminds me of kind of what has happened here with Cyberpunk 2077, because they had several changes happen later on in development, especially when Keanu Reeves was signed up. They tried to shift the entire game around Johnny Silverhand and add him in to most of the game, which I think was quite possibly a daunting task for the development team for sure. All right, they do mention like non-lethal takedowns were showcased in this demonstration. It says, in fact, it seems you couldn't grab enemies back then. There probably weren't any crates you could hide them in either. And then environmental takedowns were showcased in this demonstration, which, you know, are not really in the game. They mentioned no choice to have Jackie grab the woman in the demonstration. No third-person cutscenes for me is a big disappointment. I think that's where people would be super excited to see their own character in the game from third person, at least from that third person cutscenes. You know, what was rumored recently also is the fact that the game was originally being developed as a third person game, and they changed that mid-development as well. So that really does suck to hear, because you know what they could have done? At least they could have had the option, like Skyrim, like Fallout, to switch in between first person and third person. That would have been really, really cool. For me personally, I have been enjoying the game in first person. It does remind me of Fallout. Despite Fallout having the third person option, I don't use it, only to check my character, of course. So I think the third person cutscenes were the most notable thing for me personally. That was a bummer being cut. Of course, I mentioned in this demonstration here that we're watching that, this is V's first apartment, indicating that there would be more apartments. So I think they had a plan of having players being able to purchase apartments in this game. Of course, there's been signs that CD Projekt RED wants to add apartments later on as some sort of DLC. I just hope it's like free DLC. I think they're going to have to go all in, making their DLC mostly free with this game, except for the big expansions. You know, even with The Witcher 3, when they released these big size expansions, they were priced properly and they were huge. So hopefully they do this for Cyberpunk 2077. Guess what time it is? It's time to go over your top comments. Remember, leave a comment down below. It could end up in a future video. Let's do this. So, this was the previous video right here that I did. It covered Jason Schreier's article. It says, Dev reveal E3 2018 gameplay was faked. 2022 release date was targeted originally, and more updates. Let's get into your responses right now. Kriegshammer says, so this means the content wasn't cut. It never actually existed. The conspiracy. Hatchet says, truth is the game was rigged from the start. CD Projekt RED. Hades says, ouch, this just makes them look even worse. Jamer says, it's like one day good news and another day bad news. That's how it is with Cyberpunk, isn't it? So much like that. That's also how it was with Fallout 76. Jackal says, a game getting delayed after going gold means they have big problems. That is super rare. Is this the first game that has had that happen? Because I think it is the very first game. None of that smoke and mirrors BS, Sergeant Johnson. Lone Wanderer 30 says, is anybody actually surprised? What we got was nothing like what was promised, and that's ignoring the bugs. Yeah, a lot of people have issue with the glitches and the bugs with Cyberpunk 2077, but beyond that, there's core mechanic issues with the game. For me, It's the police system. It's a lack of customization. And, of course, that missing third-person perspective during cutscenes, which I think, again, would have been really, really cool. CX Tyler says they should have waited till 2022 to release. I really think the game needed more time in the oven to bake, at least like another year for the PC version, and a longer time probably for the PS4 and Xbox One versions. Gilly says, I bet the core devs from The Witcher 3 who left because of creative differences are having a laugh now. Yeah, there were some developers that apparently left before this all went wrong. And when you see developers start leaving, perhaps we should take that as a bad sign. It worries me now a lot about BioWare because they have had 2 core developers in their leadership leave more recently. So we'll see what happens with the next Dragon Age game. We'll see what happens with this Anthem next project in Mass Effect. So yeah, it's tough working in the gaming industry for sure. It sounds extremely stressful from the developer side of things. But thank you guys so much for watching. There you have it, the latest happenings around Cyberpunk 2077. Keep those comments rolling in. Hope you enjoyed the video. I really want to provide more balanced take, providing a look at both sides of the argument, of course, with what is going on with Cyberpunk 2077 and any games coming up in the future. But thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.